Hey everyone, wanted to do some creative patching today with the SpectraNoise update for the Spectraphone. It started with version 5.2, so any latest version should have it. It added two new modes, green for chaos and red for noise. Now in the chaos mode, there's two sine waves paired together with an additional sine wave for each for audio rate modulation, the depth of which is controlled via the partial control. And focus changes the harmonic interval of the modulation sine wave to the other two sine waves. There's a bunch of different range across focus, creating these kind of awesome belly FM ring modulated kind of tones. Slide actually adds chaotic feedback paths between all these sine waves. As you turn slide up, it kind of destabilizes and can go into full-on noise. Chaos also works on sine waves, reminds me a lot of the telharmonic noise mode. As you increase partials, there's more noise modulation to these sine waves, creating noise like sidebands around the center frequency. Focus and slide act like high and low pass filters to that noise respectively, allowing to tune it a little bit further. The FM controls work the same as before since you're still operating on sine waves as the core tone generation. Same with sub CV, LFOs, and it even operates in a low frequency mode. So instead of using these as audio generators, you could use them as super complex modulators. Let's jump into some patches, as these modes have quickly become my favorite ways of using the Spectraphone. All right, let's take a look at this patch using the chaos mode. So what I'm going to be doing here is sequencing the focus control, which again controls the harmonic relationship between the modulating sine waves. So if we give that a listen, using a 5-step sequence here on the y-axis of Renee to control that. So this is just one pitch, and focus is changing the harmonic relations of those sine waves to that fundamental pitch. If we were to add in a pitch sequence on top of this, it's a little more complex. Now we'll gate this with a low pass gate and an envelope. I'm going to use the sine wave out to add a little bit of a fundamental oomph every once in a while. And then I'm using the sawtooth sub CV out into the QPOS for a nice classic filtered sawtooth sound. Let's throw a bunch of delay on that. We also have some classic FM available here from the B oscillator. We're also using the C sequence from Renee to change the amount of partials. We can increase that, get more complexity, or decrease it to get less. Just play with it manually. All right, let's take a look at our patch using the noise mode. The noise mode is definitely the noisiest. There's some great controls between focus and slide to kind of tailor the high pass, low pass area of that noise, with partials evolving that noise from super complex back down to a sine wave. And I really like to tread in that little area. It reminds me a little bit of the noise mode on the telharmonic, where you can start out on this kind of wavery sine wave, move your way to noise. But if you kind of hover in that sine wave area, also applying some liberal FM here, you can get this really great, unstable, kind of howling but subtle tone. So let's take a listen to that. Worth mentioning here is there's a very big discrepancy here in the tuning. We're using follow CV, so they are an interval, but I have A set really low and B set quite a bit higher, and that's really to get some of this like deep low warble from the FM. The output of the Spectraphone goes into X-Pan, straight into my stereo Brucia, some mimeophone on top of it, and that's what we're listening to. All right, for this final patch, I've combined both modes. The A side is using chaos mode and the B side is using noise mode. Both going in through low pass gates here. The only thing particularly worth mentioning is the envelope opening the low pass gate for the B side is also reducing the slide. So it's kind of reducing the low pass filter for the noise sideband. What it's kind of doing here is starting out really bright as the gate is opening and also going back down less complex to more like a sine wavy tone. So it's kind of adding just a little bit more attack. If I were to lower this, you'd hear it get more noisy. Partials is a little bit up, so it doesn't get super noisy. And I'll play with it during the performance, but there's a little bit of FM from the A side to the B side, which I think adds some nice like brightness and texture that you can back away as needed. Nothing super fancy on the A side. On the KS side, that low pass gate is just getting hit with a strike from the Tempe clock. Plenty of great mimeophone delay layered in there, some Brucia on top of it. Yeah, and let's give it a listen. Pitch sequence coming from an A. Follow mode for the B side. So they're tracking together, set to some musical interval. Can't remember what it was. low pass gate mix goes through QPAS. Thanks, everybody. Hope that gave you some inspiration to try out the SpectraNoise update and dig into the chaos and noise modes.